Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to model a simple gun that you can render in mid-range or long ranges as background assets for background characters. So it's just gonna be a simple rifle. So make sure that everything is in quads, and the model or the topology itself is fairly simple. So since we are striving for something really light, and we're just going to um, create a, a hint of a shape of a gun, which in faraway distances, of course, could convince the viewer that it is a gun, or somewhat trick the brain into thinking that it is a gun model or a um, yeah, a gun. So select his faces here and then bridge them. So just keep it simple, and also provide some the necessary um, to make the faces too long or too thin. Make sure that they are somewhat of a regular size. So we're going to use the geonode feature for this, and the amount of topology you have in a particular area will determine the amount of detail that you will get from the geonode setup. Okay, so I'm going to mirror this in the x-axis or in the y-axis because the entirety of the gun is actually in the facing the x-axis too. I think I might change that. This and apply the rotation. Apply the rotation. Since we've applied the rotation, we're going to change the axis of the mirror modifier. Okay. And then we're going to UV, just cube projection, because it's basically just an angular model. So we have that. So we need to repack this so we avoid the overlap of textures in this area. Select everything and pack islands. Do not rotate. There we go. So the textures will line up with the gun. Let's go back to shader. And before shading this, I'm going to use the or add the geonode detail. So RM solver. RM stands for random maze, and this is or RS is recursive subdivision. Okay. So we're going to use RM and make the there we go. Make the main and layer 1 subd to 0, or probably no. Let's just use 1 and 2 for layer 1 and 2, 1 and 2 subdivision for both of them. And here you go. We for this or not. Okay. Now let's go to offset and adjust the offset and scale. And to get rid of the center line, you need to go to the modifier and in the mirror, adjust the merge. There you go. Now we're going to add the material. So the UV of the source object will be inherited by the geonode faces, but only on the top faces, not on the sides. But it's enough for um, the viewer couldn't really see those faces in longer ranges. Okay, so shader. Have I added the material? No. So go to extras, shading, and up in materials, and add the our full panel soft UV. Let's go to render, viewport render, and adjust this texture scale. Something like 0.7. Okay. Let's see if we can add more detail using the extra offset. Okay, so now we can play around with the shape some more. By the way, since this is a geonode modifier, you can edit it in the modifier stack. So there's just a macro for the add-on. So this is essentially a macro script that will let you modify the a modifier without having to go to the modifier stack. So you can um, work with full screen on. Something like this. Since we're going for something lighter, we're just going to use a lower subdivision and get our shapes mostly from here. So somewhere around this distance or this distance. And as you can see, it looks like sci-fi gun, at least, since that's where what we are aiming for. Okay. So here's another trick. Since topology affects the result of the geonode, and if you don't want to create extra geometry, then you can just create the detail separate from the mesh. So for example, if I want to create an extrusion here, like uh like this, for example, and I don't want this extra topology. So I was aiming for this actually. So I don't want this extra topology. I could just add it as a separate object. And so let's go for asymmetry. We're not going to mirror this. Okay. Then just copy. Select the object that you want um, the geonode to be copied into, and then the geonode to be copied from as the last object or the active object. And then go to random flow, not creative flow, geonode, and then copy. There you go. I didn't copy the material, so basic cube projection, and then sign material, uh, soft UV. There we go. And you can see that the size of the texture is not matching up. But if we change this to make it bigger for this, it will become way bigger for the original object. So what we're going to do instead is go here, go to UV map, and let's just pack this. Uh, Pack islands, do not rotate, and then just oh, there we go. Uh, Scale down the UV map itself. Okay, I think we already have a good looking gun right here. So we can finish this video already. Okay. You can see here, we can actually quad this. So we can avoid detail actually following this face loop. We can quad this. Let's go to knife and press A to snap it to 45-degree angle. I think it's 45 degree. What is it? No, it's 30 degrees. Okay, 30 degrees. And then press C to cut through. Just right click to create a new cut. There we go. And we're going to delete this. So we get, oops. So we get this, really straight. We're not, the facelift is no longer following the circular line right here. But first we're going to address this part here. I think I moved it accidentally. And also, there we go. I think I moved it. You can just delete the face and use the F2 add-on. Straighten up. There we go. And selecting this face here. Using loop tools, flatten. Didn't do a good job. Actually, I did a good job. But this part here should be here. And in order to make this centered, we're just going to delete that edge and press J to reconnect. And then actually we're just going to use the knife. And then delete this. There we go. Oops. This is straight. Flatten. So now the detail on this part is straight and not flowing like this. You can control the amount of panel islands that's being produced by the modifier, and you just need to go to offset and this here the percentage. There you go. Now we're just gonna add a few more things. Intersect, select bool object. Okay, add intersect object. Since if you're using this command, not that, add intersect object, it will copy the origin point of this of the active object. So when you go directly to mirror it, it will of course match with this, their symmetry line will match together. Okay, and we're just going to copy the geonode setup. There we go. And view projection, then add the material. Actually, you can just pick the object. Since this is only a single object, you can just pick the other object that has the material that you want, and then press on this icon, drag, and then drop it on the object. There we go. And actually, this the detail looks nice on this particular object, so we don't need to resize the UV map. Okay. Now I think and then you can just play around with the seed value to get the look that you want. So this is the power of the geonode, of course the modularity. But the disadvantage of this is that you cannot touch the geometry because it is non-destructive. The geometry doesn't really exist. It exists virtually and is created by the geonode. And the advantage of the destructive model using the old random flow operators is that after the operation, you can directly edit the mesh, adding your own detail to the randomized mesh, but you have no modularity. Of course, you cannot come back and then change the result. You have to start over using the settings. But there is a way. If you like the settings that you've used, you can just click this icon here and then name it, and then name it, and then press OK. I don't know why it's actually activated. Okay, so um, there's only one thing to do, and that's have fun with the model. What if we create like a kind of like a stand? So add intersect object, use view, do this. Then we're gonna cut through. Oops. So cut through in row cuts is T, and it defaults to off. I think it defaults to off. Yeah, it defaults to off every time you use the operation. So just press F to do that. And now it's straight. And let's just add addition topology, and we're going to follow. So if you're adding an edge cut, you can see here, Control R, loop cut and slide. And when you click to go through the edge slide phase of the operation, you can press, I think, AE to let you copy the neighboring edges direction or shape. So, and it is, you can see that which edge or parallel edge, it is copying right now based on the red dot that you see here. Look at that. And you can flip it to copy that edge on top. Flip it and then press F again to flip it. So I'm going to copy this instead. And then bevel, and then add segments. Okay. And copy a geonode setup. And then we're going to mirror this, go to mirror X. The geonode, okay, you need to place this at the bottom for the mirror, for the symmetry to work. And play around the value. Go. Again, simple cube projection and drag and drop the material. So go to UVs and actually let's use the extras object utility mesh. Oops, not that. Mesh straight UV. There we go. And UV back islands. And just scale the texture. There we go. Not the texture, the UV. And you can, of course, again, reduce the amount of faces that are extruded using the offset percentage value or parameter. Let's try something that is going towards the inside. Okay, so there you go. So to reduce the amount of detail, just reduce the amount of subdivision that's being used. So let's try the RS solver. And this is the way it looks like in solid mode, and this is in object mode. Okay, so yeah, and that's it. And when you do this, an experiment with your own creation or your own shape, just make sure that the model is pretty basic, or the work mesh is pretty basic in terms of topology. And at first, and then you can add more later as you experiment with how topology affects with the geonode result. Okay, so yeah, and that's it for this video. Subscribe, like, comment, and share. Also visit my Patreon. If you have any questions, use the comment section below or the links in the description. Thank you for watching, and you have a nice day.